Hello. Welcome to the Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena channel. I'm your host, six-time near-death experiencer and evidential medium and afterlife speaker, Tamara Caulder Richardson. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Hit the bell so you can get show alerts. We have different shows coming up every week, so you've got to stay tuned. Also, like and make comments below. That really helps. And check out our membership perks. We have some phenomenal membership perks, and any donation toward the channel really helps.
That note on a musical scale is going to be pertinent to that frequency. 444 is going to be that same key signature, but it's a different type of A. So as I talked a little bit about tempered tuning, this is not tempered. This is a whole different thing, that it's exponential, because as the frequencies will increase, and harmonic value and content. Now, I know it's like people are like trying to wrap their mind around it. Hopefully they're kind of grasping some of it, but it can go on to infinity, so to speak. And that's what these frequencies are and why they change our energy field. Okay,
I'm starting to get this. So this is why, not to get too personal or whatnot, because we're getting deep, but that's, oh gosh, but that's why I said, oh, you're supposed to do these things that vibrate through the whole globe. It's not just your like recording studio. So you're saying it's kind of like a laser going deep inside. It can penetrate these, this is not like the lower vibration. This can penetrate and do healing on a much deeper level, not only with the human body, but on the planet. So this is this. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So that does make sense why that message came through, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really deep. This is cool.
Okay, so another way, and I love the way you said that. Another way to think of that is we know what color therapy is, right? So hertz that I just described is the measures up with the frequency of music, and also I get electrical current too, but it's still a frequency. Nanometer is what's going to measure that with light. So if you think about light, we really only see 7 different colors. There's red, yellow, blue, violet, orange, green, and indigo. And each one of those is going to have a frequency range inside of them, as well as we see it, different shades of orange, so to speak, okay? Mm-hmm. So think about our human energy field, or people will call them chakras. There's 7 chakras.
Here, let's look at this.
There we go. Perfect. There's 7 colors, right? If you think of in a musical scale, you've got 7 notes, and then the 8th note's going to be the octave. So it's just going to be the main, we're going to call it the fundamental frequency. So we're going to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, but it's going to be that double frequency up there. So if you're talking 444, that next A is going to be 888. You follow me with this?
Ooh, yeah, I like that number too. I like 8 and I like 9 too.
Yeah. I 7's for me, and that's what I used for
7's good too.
Ariel. Ariel spoke to me a lot on this album. I'd go backpacking I live here in Colorado, so we've got the Rocky Mountains, and I'd go out for a couple of days and just sleep underneath of a tarp on the ground and have a spiritual journey, or a Rocky Mountain walkabout, if you will. And that's where Ariel started coming into me, which, if you think Ariel is also dealing with manifestation. Well, I love music. and I love my career, and in an industry that's so hard, I'm able to be supported with it and be able to get the equipment or build the equipment and manifesting it through it. So that one holds a special place for me when I'm listening and I want to bring in an abundance or manifest something into my life, so to speak.
So that's 7 for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which one is Uriel? That's because Ariel is different than Uriel. So Uriel.
444 was the frequency that I have for him.
Was that the fire of God? That's the one.
Receiving divine knowledge and wisdom. That's my
main guardian angel. I've seen it twice in my near-death experience, and he. So it's like a flame. It's like the creation of life. It's like a yellow and a yellow, gold, and red, but not scary. Just amazing, like not scary, but powerful. And yeah, I mean, I work with different ones too, but so that is the what is it? The fire of God.
Which is, you said that's your light. I think the meaning of Uriel is God is my light, is what the meaning of the name.
Bam! That's what I'm talking about.
According to my information, more studies on the album. So, and I'll get asked a lot by a lot of people. They're like, Ted, I have this, or Ted, I have this, or here's this problem. What frequency do you recommend for me?
Yeah, you need a chart for that, because I was going to ask you, what's good for meditation? What's good if you've been stressed out? What's good for that? I think that would be a great idea. Or if you just want to play and just be more playful, what is that one?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is that each one of us, of our makeup and our chemistry of our energy in our energy fields, is going to be completely different. I think that it's like if you go into you eat a certain type of food, all of a sudden you want to try a different type of food. And I think that intuitively, because we're all intuitive beings in one form or another, intuitively our body is going to be drawn to it. Like sometimes if you go out and do something, all of a sudden you start craving a certain type of food. Well, it's probably because your body's lacking that mineral or that vitamin that might be deficient.
Lemon cake, would that have anything?
Tomato juice for me.
Tomato juice? Really? That's so acidic for me. I have no idea where this came from. I was like, lemon cake. So I'm going to make lemon smoothies just to get that out of my system, because I gotta get it together there. So going back, should we go through each one and kind of like the chakra balancing? Tell us about this one.
Okay, so the original one that I did, I was doing
let's go to the side so people can see us as we peer around the thing, so you can talk about it.
Okay, so let me talk a little bit first about vocal toning before I kind of go into that.
Oh, okay. Let me pull that up. Okay, let me pull that up. There we go.
Well, there we go. We can use that one. And so I minored in voice. And so I'd done vocalist scales and intervals and stuff for helping singers so that they can develop a range. But as I'm dealing with the healing journey that I'm on, I'm like, we all have our own sound healing instrument ourselves, because I get asked a lot of questions like, okay, crystal bowls are really healing. Yeah, but now you got to have a bunch of them, right? Remember, like I said, the one frequency, you might want to have a different frequency. And if you're dealing with crystal bowls, they can get a little pricey sometimes.
Or forks, or the vibrating forks, right? Yeah. They're pricey.
They are, and especially when you're getting up to developing sets and everything like that. And the one thing is that we've got our own voices, our own key signature. They're all united. And see, part of the stuff with my studies, I'd done some audio forensics. So actually, like, our voices are like our thumbprints. They're all unique to us and ourself. And you can see, if you dissect it, what a certain pattern is, or whose voice will be able to match up with them, so to speak.
Okay, so
something else.
This is fascinating, because we all have a unique sound, but it's so weird. Okay, this is so cool. We're cool. So, like, my husband, he would say, let me move this just for a minute, we'll come back to it. He has told me, he said, I connected to your voice before I even saw you. And I said, why? He said, because it's really unique. He said, but we know it's tonality, right? And to me, I think that matters. Everything matters. I think tone and sound, if someone's very harsh they could be talking about, the Muppet Show, but if their voice is really harsh, it's off-putting. And I think that you're right. They do have a vibration, but also when we speak forth, like I was told, when I was on the other side with heaven with Jesus, he said that when we speak, this is one of the things he told me, when we speak, he said, well, first we think it and then we manifest it. But the words are not just word, but they're energy that is sent out as signals. And that is what we manifest into things. So we've heard speak your truth, but there's truth to that. But we literally have creation that comes out of our mouth. So I think that the tonality, how can that improve that? That's my question. How can that improve what comes out of our mouth?
Okay. Well, if you're starting to sing and you put intention behind with what you're singing, that's got to be the most. And now the words are coming out. You're using the vibration that's with that. So energy can attract certain types of energies just as well as energy can repel certain types of energies, right? You think of okay, this might be a little deep here, but an oscillator is a type. It's a sound source. Whether you use a sine wave, a square wave, a triangle wave.
Okay, what's an oscillator?
An oscillator is going to be anything that's going to create a type. So like a synthesizer, as you can see behind me, something has to generate a tone or a sound out of it, right? So most of them, and I'm not talking digital, I'm going back before we had this digital stuff, and it had to be a sound source that's going to create a tone. A tone is going to be also like those frequencies. So like my compositions, for example, and I'll get back into this, though they're going to be 444, they're going to be in the key of A. It's going to be a composition that's in that. I'm using everything that's in that key signature, not just that one tone, right? So an oscillator is going to have that one tone. It's what you can do with that tone or energy source. It vibrates. So us as individuals, we're an energy source. We vibrate, right? Well, if I'm at 444 and someone next to me who I might not really get along with too well is vibrating at something else, right? Or their voice that you're talking about, there's a friction that's there, or a dissonance that's not quite melding in with it.
And it can also be patterns of the way they say it too. Well, I don't. It's like a mistrust. If someone's like, yes, I guess so, you're like, okay, what in between those?
And there's a syncopation that goes with that, and a rhythm. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and then you're like, or it's the same thing as thank you. That's not, it's the intention, but it's also the pause, all of these things.
So with vocal toning, here was a great way that I could take it as a self-healing powers of using our own voice to resonate through all of our chambers and our bones in the mass of our body. So now our whole body is going to be resonating with that frequency and vibration, and we can use it to restore it back to its electromagnetic field or entrainment. Entrainment is where we're being able to vibrate at that same frequency, right? Not to be in the 440, but we're going to go ahead and do an angelic frequency of 444. So we're entraining our body back to that. So it's going to be, I used it with clients before singing and stuff, because now they're opening up their chakras, and especially their throat chakras. It's raising the vibration and raising the vibration of others as well if they're going to be in the vicinity and toning or singing, because it's coming from the heart. When we sing, it's really kind of coming from the heart. It's a great way to release anger, jealousy, resentment, frustration, other negative energies. And interestingly enough, if you think of toning, man, it goes back for centuries. I mean, monks were doing them.
The Gregorian monks, is that what? Now, tell me what that was about. What were they doing?
Um, well, the Gregorian, they didn't really have a form of music with how that they, because
It was prayer,
yeah,
right?
it was
It was
prayer.
prayer.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like sentient. I like to call it, this is my own theory, is my own world of TED music, but it's kind of like a
Yeah.
droning, a self-droning on its own. It's a very meditative state that you can be into. You know, if you're like, you can just get
Mhm.
into where you're
Mhm.
going with that. Now you're starting to do the prayer, right? You're releasing all of that negativity stuff. You're bringing in the abundance that you want. You're bringing in the healing to not only yourself, back to bringing in the healing towards others. Nature's sound. And if you think about it, everything in nature and the universe is a vibration, and we're nature. So our sound waves are the carriers of our intentions through our God-given sound that we're generating with inside of ourselves.
Wow, this is such a different way of looking at life. And it's funny because I now understand my husband better through you. Thank you, Ted, because he would say something to
I'm
me.
here to
We'd be,
serve.
I know, well,
Your
thank you
humble
so
servant.
much. Yes, because I'm more the color person. And today I was going to wear red, which is root chakra. They were like, no, they wanted me to wear royal blue, which is what? Your throat chakra, right? Which
Yeah.
is, we're talking about singing and music. And I was like, oh, wow, they were insistent upon that. And they said, no, as much blue as you can. So we put the blue shades on. They said, blue, blue, blue. But so we would go out to eat, my husband and I, Clay, we'd go out to eat, and he would say, do you feel it? I'm like, what? He goes, do you hear it? I'm like, what? And he goes, there's a rhythm. There's a tonality in here. There's a, what did he say? It's like a personality you feel in here. Do you feel it? And he said, I would play, he played music. He said, I would play music. He was younger when he did that. And he said, and you could tell, you could feel, you could hear the sound and the dissonance when a fight was going to break out. And he said, I always knew to get the heck way out on the other side of the room or leave, because you could feel it coming. And I went, oh my gosh, you're right. Or if nature's really still, like too still, and it feels strange, something's off. So he perceives this world in terms of sound patterns, which is kind of like what you're talking. I mean, you're opening up a whole new world of how to look at things. Wow. So the tonality, how can that bring us closer to the divine? Because this is, I know we're from there. We're like all,
Yeah.
it's our birthright. We're like all from heaven. We're like created there and all that. But how does this do that?
How does it bring us closer to the divine?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just singing out with our intentions that we're being with it. If we're looking for a way, it's a tool. It's really what it is. It's just a tool to help us
Okay.
be able to get there. So like some people that have a hard time being able to relax on their own or meditate, so to speak. So like when I'm like working with music, there was an individual, somebody I was talking to said, well, you know what you need to do is you need to go into like a 90-minute meditation. I'm like, man, I wish I had 90 minutes. And that's where I found that it's so hard to, how do you connect with it? And that's what I was able to use with frequency and my
It's
music.
quick.
It's quick, and it's
Quick.
so that you can change that and get the meditative state. So that's where the angelic vocal toning, if that's where we want to go, and that's a tool that helps you get there, because you just need that extra little push.
This is a great selling point. There's so many people that don't have the patience, or they're not, or even, my husband will go, I'm not a meditative type person. I just get bored. I'm sorry. I can do that, and I have done it, but I don't need all that. Quite honestly, I can go into a trance like that. But I've noticed that people that are higher toned, they're usually involved with athletics, or they're high energy. They're quick, what's next? And they get bored easy. Not that you can't do that, but why can't you get it faster? So this is a great way that you can sit there and really not only take it in, but take that time for yourself. So yeah, I've had people like, I meditate half a day. I'm like, half a day? I don't have that kind of time. I don't even have time. I have to have spirit talking to me in the bathroom because I'm like freaking busy. We don't eat dinner till late. I mean, I would love to, maybe it'll change one day, but yeah. So people don't have that kind of time. So this way they can just sit there and anywhere from 6 minutes to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They want an hour, fine.
Yeah, it's like, so we had a publishing company, and so some of the authors were running into writer's block. And so when we started putting my music in front of them, it's entraining their body, right? And so now as they're become, and you got to think, okay, our bodies are what, like 75% water. And so vibration, we all know if we go underwater and you hear a ping on a metallic object, it's a lot louder underwater, right, than it is if we're like up in air
Wow.
because of the sound pressure.
Vibrates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're vibrating ourselves by putting on headphones and being able to listen to it and training with it. And then all of a sudden the body gets used to it. So now all of a sudden it's saying, which you're saying, I can just go into this, if I go to the bathroom or the shower, and I'll get these messages because you're already entrained to, that's what's going to happen. That's where it's going to come in.
Apparently.
Yeah, it works great. But those who cannot get to that point in place, where do you start? And this was one aspect that was helping me through my journey on that, because I had to certainly think, how am I able to, am I going to do one album, or am I going to do two? Is there going to be the sophomoric blues on it? And now I'm like 25 albums later, finishing up with, I don't know what number, 26, and I've got 27 I'm already starting on, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming.
Right. Well, I never thought about that. I mean, this is part of your healing journey too. It's just, it's so much, especially people that are of service. I'm always thinking about other people and other things. And sometimes, my team guide laughs at me and goes, this is for you too, I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. So you get to really enjoy your own discoveries and sit there. Do you ever listen to your own, healing frequencies? But you're in it all the time, so
I'm in it every day.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, do I go back and see when I'm writing it and then I'm mixing it and I'm mastering it? I listen to it repetitively over and over and over and over again, and I think that most artists have this aspect that they're like, there has to come a point that you have to release it and let it out to the world, and then once you do that, sometimes it can be difficult to go back and listen to it, because you're like, okay, now I've got this type of different tools and equipment. I could have done this differently. Man, I really wish I would have done that. And it's like, I have to be happy with what it is.
Right.
And so
it's the same thing as a writing piece or anything. A lot of times once I go through the process, and it's an evolution, when you're finally there, I'm like, I'm done. And I usually don't listen to it. People go, do you? I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't even remember what I say half the time. And so I'll have to, I really don't. That's why it's a good thing I try to be honest, because I can't, I'm a horrible liar. I just don't even remember things.
Yeah.
But let's go to the next one. So we got the chakras, and that's something that everybody needs. Everybody needs their energy centers, because they're all wonky and they can't explain why. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, because you're living in this world, you're human. And sometimes there's, I try to really limit seeing any news or anything like that. I'm very limited what I want. There's very few things now I find I can even watch that I really even like. It just sort of sucks. I mean, a lot of them are documentaries, because it just sucks, a lot of the stuff. I mean, it just, I can't, because it's just weird and dark. Anyhow, going back. So we're in this world, and we could hear, a lot of fear mongering and so forth. And it affects me too. So lining up the chakras, sometimes I'll feel off balance. It can happen. It can happen. I can just go to the grocery store and a couple of weird people, and I feel off balance.
Yeah.
It could be that easy. I mean, it really can. Do you agree? It could just be real simple.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and you got to think, okay, we're talking about that this planet that we're on here is also a frequency in and of its own. So if we've heard, oh, this is going to blow my mind here. Let me think here. I had the Schumann resonance, right? We all vibrate at the Schumann resonance, and it's interestingly enough to think that, and I can go into that a little bit later. But anyway, where I kind of came up with that one was dealing with the original solfeggio frequencies or tones that we have. So what solfeggio is mathematical formulas from which the universal frequencies are derived from. And they consist of sacred geometry, sacred numerology, and that they've been associated to have positive effects on all of our health and wellness. And there's 6 main secret frequencies that have expanded, and they've expanded a little bit from there, but the 6 were mathematically and harmonically related to each other. And people can go on and Google solfeggio, and I won't go into where the geometry or sacred numerology comes on that, because it's interesting, and it should be good to kind of do some research, those who are interested on it, to kind of come to some of their own conclusions with it. But they started out, and they've been linked throughout history. They've been hidden too for a while. But as you go back and dig through, then they're finding out that they're mentioned in both the Bible and the Torah, in Numbers, for example. And it's been linked to the hymn of John the Baptist. And so the six were ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Well, everybody's going to go do, re, mi, so, fa, la, ti, do, right? And that's kind of where it started from, so to speak. Interestingly enough, as we're talking about this, the third one, ut, re, mi, is M-I, right? Which I like to say it's going to be short for miracles. And when I started this journey, my first album, Miracles for DNA Repair, I had seen some studies that in Russia, they were using 528, which is the frequency that I have for that. And that's what they were doing. They're showing that it's able to repair some of the DNA using that.
This is really crazy because this whole thing is presenting itself. You know how when you're ready, it presents itself.
It's a big puzzle. Here's the corner piece.
And a lot of times you just say, oh God, what's next? And then boy, oh boy. And so, but yeah, this DNA, I told you I had this DNA activation where you visualize these different, sacred geometry. Who knew, and what they look like. I did the one with this is the, what is it? Not the tree of life. It is, what is it? The creation, a source, this life one behind the flower life. And where I actually visualized, I was one of those little specks in there, how I was unified with everything. And that blew my freaking mind. But these things are sacred and holy, but you're right. It does go back to things that have been presented before. And I think there's even hidden numbers in the Torah. I think Greg Braden talks about that too. But this is like, when you have evidence where it keeps backing up in other ways, like the music, it's just really exciting. So let's go to the next one. We've got some more planetary frequencies. Explain this one. Since we're talking about going way out there.
That's a lot of the frequencies that I got that are planetary frequencies in and of themselves, right? So the Earth's got its vibrational frequency, and I get people, I'll always get, well, no, it's going to be this frequency, it's going to be that. Yeah, okay. This is what I've got, and this is where I'm kind of coming in with it. And if it doesn't match up,
I'm going with you.
Yeah,
you're getting channeled information from the archangels, and you've been doing this your whole life. I'm going with you on this, so you know what you're doing on it.
And that's just where I'm coming from. That's where I'm getting these. This is what's coming in from my creative aspect and dealing with it. And you look at the frequencies it's dealing with Saturn and Uranus and the moon, even to the moon, and then the sun, golden consciousness, which is the epicenter of our whole universe with where that is. And so that's where I came from with putting together that album, and I wanted something just a little bit more different that was kind of dealing more on outside of the I hate to say 3D reality that we're in, but you know, for the most part,
that's good.
We're in a 3D reality, I get that we can change and stuff, but these bodies that we're in for now, that's the best we can do to tap into that we know exists out there and further.
Right.
It's interesting to think with the universe that we're only seeing 4.9% of the universe out there. So there's
right. There's a lot out there. So I want to ask you about these planetary frequencies. Doing this, would this help people connect to, we've got, what is it that people say, 7 etheric light bodies. We know we've got light bodies that is a lot more than this, our true spirit self. Does it connect you to your higher levels?
Yeah, I'm going to say it does. And I get a lot of feedback. For some, it might take a little bit more time. And again, you have to be using your intention when you're going there. These are tools to help you kind of get there, that we're dealing with this 3D reality, but tapping into the physics of music and vibration with the energy that's with it. That's just happened to be what I'm trying to do to specialize in for helping others to be able to get as close to feeling that we can for here.
Oh, wow. You need to make one for starseeds. Who knew? There's a whole, what do you call it? a movement, a whole group, like there is with near-death experiencers, because when I've had UFO people, I mean, like these people come out of the woodwork, these star seeds, and they're really awesome. I met quite a few, but I mean, seriously, you could do one and they'd really like that.
And some of these frequencies are actually going to vibrate with them, because they're going to be, just if you think about, like, okay, we deal a lot with, my wife is a master hypnotherapist. And so one of our companies and businesses that we have developed through hypnosis and with this is dealing to tap into past life regressions, future life regressions, and present life regressions. And so if you might have something that happens in a past life, it still could repeat its pattern into a future life. What I think they call it, another thing you're dealing with is like epigenetics on that. We've used that to help kind of clear away some of the epigenetics. For those who don't know what that is, we can carry like 14 generations of negative energy or sludge that's on us that we've had that might be caused from a catalyst from the individual, and then it mutated all these generations to where we have it. And so in a particular example with a client that we worked with on this, she was starting her own business, and she was a female entrepreneur, and she had a hard time getting to work in the business to get it to run. And it come to find out that she was of Italian descent. And so her generations of her family told her that she's supposed to be in the home while the men were educated or in the workforce, and that they're the homemakers or the cooks and stuff.
Right.
And when we cleared all of that, next thing you know, her business just took off. And
what is that? Because a lot of people might, I mean, I've had a lot of past life and some in between life, but why is because it's not just your cognition, you're saying it's the energy attached to it?
Yeah, it can follow you into the next lifetime and follow you to the next lifetime. And so you want to try to clear that.
So is it your energy or is it ancestral energy?
Ancestral. It could still be yours. I mean, you tell me, right?
So if that's true. That's true. It goes both ways. So, so if I go, wow, okay, whatever, there still needs to be a clearing. It's okay. I got a really good example, I think. What about if you look, I've done it. I have met people in the past that seem really nice, but I got to get rid of them later on. That sounds awful because they're negative, but I didn't know. It has happened, not a lot. So, and I wish them well. But when I do, I decide, wow, I'm getting upset only when this person's around. And then I start putting it together. It doesn't happen a lot, but look, it has happened. And I put this together and go, okay, it's probably best for both of us for us just to, part ways and go on our journey. I have made a decision to do that, right?
Yeah.
But there still could be some, what do we say, energetic cords attached.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a clearing. So I literally bring in St. Michael and I go, what's mine is mine. What's yours is yours. What's mine is mine. And then I do a blessing over them and me. So there's no hard feelings or anything like that. But that's kind of what you're saying. There's a residue of energy.
Yeah, we've seen cases where we'd be working with an individual, and they might have been fighting them in a battle at a different time, or one of them killed them. And so that's kind of carried on. And the next thing you know, they're like sisters and say like this lifetime, or they're brothers in this lifetime, or one might be a mother and a father. And then there's still some of that resentment. And you can clear that with that individual going, look, what happened then was okay. We've moved past that. We can go ahead and safely move away from that. There's no need to have that energy there anymore. And so you can clear that to be into the present time with that individual. And sometimes it's just a matter of, this was supposed to come into your life. Here's a message or an energy that you were supposed to get. You no longer need it. Don't wear out its welcome, so to speak.
So how does that work? I'm curious. I've had a lot of just coincidentally a past life guest, past life regressionist on the show. But I know what you do and your wife does. And again, we're bringing in your wife as a separate business, but we're talking about this hypnosis or this regression. How does that work? Someone, they walk through a past life and they see these things, they keep going till they pull the string, and they're like, oh, think I found it. And
Yeah.
there they are. And you
Yeah.
know when it's there, because it doesn't feel really good at first. And it's like, oopsie. And then when you're there, how is it different than normal regression? Because usually it's your own cognition with regression goes, oh, wow, I feel silly, I'm going to let that go. But with this, is something more. What is that?
Well, so we had to go from a different aspect with it, that like sometimes you come across those people and they're like, I just can't get into a hypnotic state. And there might be a block that they don't want to go there. So part of the process that we've developed with WellPoint, and what I'm talking about in specific is WellPoint hypnosis method. And so we developed this modality and train practitioners, or those who want to be practitioners, or those who just want to go through and have the experience with it, that they can be able to go through this and feel what it's like. So we incorporate my music into it. Well, my music is really all original. And the reason why we're using mine is because nobody's really heard mine in the past generations, especially if we're talking back to like epigenetics. And specifically what I'm trying to get at is, say somebody might play classical music in the background to try to get one of their patients to go under. And if that individual's had a traumatic experience dealing with class, they're not going to go there. Now you just like put like white gasoline on it before throwing the match. And so we use my music because now we've seen what it's done. Before we were doing this with, I got to back up here and I'll come and answer it. So as my wife was telling me about with what she's as a master hypnotherapist, she's taking me on some of these journeys, and we'll get to some of these albums that I'm going through in past life, future life regressions, and I'm able to pull this information out, and that's how I'm starting to write more of these albums and come with it. So it's again a tool that I'm using. What's that?
I said benefit.
Yeah, right, right. So it's like beneficial for us because we're getting I'm getting the healing from it and clearing, and also being able to write the stuff that it's maybe it's time for it to come out for others to enjoy or be able to experience and hear it. So going back to dealing with the music that the individual gets to listen to, they haven't heard that before. So now it's getting them into that into their natural energetic state. Right? They're getting into their higher self, tapping into their self-consciousness, their awareness. They're in their own key signature energy. Again, we all have our own energy field. And now there's none of the trauma and drama that's there. Now the hypnosis place can take into effect that she's been really good at with it, and is able to get that person to release what this is, to come forward with it. We call it spiritual hypnosis is really what it is. And it's tapping into their higher self. It's all their higher self that's tapping into unlocking what this is that they want to unlock. So one funny kind of example, before one of these individuals, she was actually a practitioner, went into a session, she had a loving for eating, what are they, the little Frito-Lay corn chips.
Yeah.
And she's like, can you help me quit eating corn chips? And so we're going through.
Really? That's why she came to.
Well, there's other stuff, but that was.
That was one of them.
Yeah, that was one of the things that she wanted us to work on, or for her to be worked on by my wife. And so she goes through with this, and sure enough, her higher self is kind of coming through this session, and long story short, decides to make corn chips taste like earwax to her, and she comes out of the session and all of that, and kind of talking about it and kind of laughing about it. Talked to her a couple months later, and she no longer eats corn chips, and in fact got in phenomenal shape. I mean, it was just like amazing seeing what she had done and how her body had changed just from some of that session.
But don't you think also too that when we carry unwanted trauma, we may not even be able to detect where it is? It may show up as signs and other things that when we remove that, it has mass or weight to it. We can't always see it. We may see it on us, but I think that once we remove that, I have seen people that they just completely, it's almost like their body transforms to the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that can happen too.
Yeah, you get rid of all the negative energy and that may not be doing you any good any longer. Again, we're talking maybe say like past life regression and getting rid of some of those mutations that you no longer need in this lifetime. And now you can get back to the point of really where you want to be, or what the purpose that you're trying to serve here for this right here and now in this point in time until we finish out this time here on this planet.
Wow. These are just, I mean, that's amazing. You both are working together on tools that can help us to develop, to ascend out of the, what is it, the third density?
Yeah.
Even fourth density. I mean, we're supposed to go higher. What are we supposed to be, 6 right now? That's what we're aiming for. That's what the planet's supposed to aim for.
It's kind of happening along the way, I'd say.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is supposed to, they say, oh, it's going to happen. I'm like, okay, so this is, you're part of that. Let's go to, now we've done that. We've got the heartbeat of the universe. What is this one like? Okay,
so when we were developing Wellpoint hypnosis method, I came out with some original compositions, and 432 is really one of the universal frequencies. It is like it represents the golden mean of the universe, so to speak, and so it's kind of like the main one, and so we use that as the heartbeat of the universe. Clearly is the title from what I just described with it, and I put in delta brainwaves in that. I guess I probably ought to explain a little bit.
Delta and binary, that would,
yeah,
that might help.
Yeah. So what we're doing is I'm kind of doing brainwave entrainment, and that's basically billions of neurons that are throughout our brain are communicating with one another through electricity. We're electromagnetic beings, right? And these electrical pulses are actually rhythms in nature. And like any other, and we were talking about, well, we're out of rhythm with this person, right? And so like any other rhythmic system, these rhythms are going to elicit the brain's frequency for a following response. And it's encouraging the brain waves to align to that frequency of a given beat or a given frequency. And I had somebody who was like talking about somebody like, oh, well, this person invented it. And it's like, it's not really anything new. It dates back to ancient Greece of over 2,000 years ago with Ptolemy. And so it's going to realign our soul signature frequency, and it's going to allow us to break free, and as I like to say, eradicate from the negative energies
That's what all this is. Yeah, all of this. They're working, and you know, the other thing I'm kind of getting with this is working on different layers.
Yeah,
you know, from your chakras to your etheric bodies to your speaking your truth to the divine. Just working on the crown chakra and up. You know, because like with these DNA activation, there's tons of chakras. I've apparently had 100 of them opened up.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people don't know that. That's why I did like one of my I can't remember where it was. There's so many of them. But as I'm like looking to try to do these compositions for chakras, I'm like, oh, well, you can go up and up and up and up and up, and then there might even be like 1 or 2 that are even down. It's like it's again, it's like a puzzle piece. It's like, oh, I got this little bit of information. Oh, I got this little bit of information. What to do with it, and how is the world going to accept it? Right. So as I'm dealing, so now we're dealing with another kind of animal, so to speak, as I've been talking about, say 432 with the album cover that we're dealing with there. We know that 432 is going to be in the key of A. Well, now that one's got delta frequencies that's put inside of that. Okay, Ted, what is delta frequencies? How do you combine frequencies? What is this? Well, delta waves is a frequency that's about 4 hertz or less, and it's the deep, dreamless sleep where our body can heal and restore itself, right? It releases anti-aging hormones, including melatonin, HGH, DHEA, and it's the place. Are you
serious? The delta? Yeah. Okay, totally going to do that. That's better than a Botox. Okay, doing that.
Yeah, right. So now we're talking about hypnosis, as I was talking earlier. How do you get this person to relax, especially if they're like, I cannot go into hypnosis, my body won't do it. Well, now we put him with a delta wave, which is where we created some of these series, because it's now going into the deepest relaxation, the deepest healing, the deepest spiritual connection, the deepest connection with the subconscious mind. And then it's considered to be the gateway to the unconscious mind, and the collective unconscious being, you know, bringing access to the universal psyche of the mind. So
wow.
That's part of the series that I kind of call my, we call it the Delta Wave series, but it was also for the Wellpoint, because as we were developing Wellpoint, we found that when we put people listening to 30 minutes to 60 minutes of this, and there's a process that's of it. I know it sounds like a lot of time, but again, we're tapping past life regression. It's going to
Yeah.
take some time that we want to get there. We're not just going to give you a pill and it's going to happen and you're going to come back out of it. So
Right. There's work.
Yeah, it's work. That's the tool. So that's what we're coming with 432 and the Heartbeat of the Universe with that album.
So the Delta, and this is what I guess you're saying, these are the Delta series here.
Yes.
Real quick, before you go further in that, what's the difference between the Delta and the binary?
Okay, well, they're kind of go hand in hand, so to speak, on top of it with each other. So if we're talking binaural beats, so to speak, right? Let me give a little history on it for those who kind of like, I hate kind of like pulling it from the cloud and saying, here's this, take my word for it. But it dates back to 1839 by some German scientists. And it's basically states of consciousness and the ranges that are going to be relaxation, it's meditation, reduces stress, management of pain levels, right? Again, we're talking 1839. We didn't have the medicines and the technology that we have of our time now. So what do you use for somebody to get them to heal with it? It's enhancing the memory. It's going to enhance our intuition. That's great for some of us who like to use that on a daily basis, right? And enhance our creativity. And so it's altering the electrochemical environment of the brain, allowing the mind and the consciousness to have different experiences, which then can facilitate change in response to the ever-changing internal environments and surrounding stimulations, simply by controlling our attentiveness with our levels of arousal. So it's incorporating those frequencies through binaural beats that's getting the brain to go there, a tool to get it to go there, because we can't really open it up, flip the switch. How do we do it? We have to do it through our ears, through oral stimulation.
So this would be good for people like, I just don't feel I'm that intuitive. That would open that up.
I would say so. They're funny because those people who say I'm not that intuitive
are
and then
usually
they'll say
really
something
intuitive.
to you, and you're like, that was totally an intuitive thing that you just saw and you won't admit it.
I know. I totally agree. People go, no, I don't know. And I'm like, you just said it. You just said, actually, I was asking an answer earlier and you just said it for me. So you're totally connected. Yeah, that's true. So, and it would also help with people that have, I bet, dementia.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's showing, elderly, it's working with, you're able to deal with elderly as well as early childhood.
Why is that?
Do you think that they're developing at childhood? It's a great way for them to listen, to be subjected to it at an early age. It's not just all of a sudden, here's 440, have fun with it, go listen to it. It's stimulating, the brain and the cortex, so to speak. It's been helping emotionally disturbed head injuries. There's another one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, a lot of this, man, we could, people in the NDE field, there's a lot of, I've had a lot of head injuries with mine. So, so this would help with that. Very interesting.
Just scratching the surface on it. I'm glad to see him because I've been kind of saying some of this for years, and now it's good to talk to these doctors and seeing them going out further with it. And now you're seeing a lot more published materials coming out going, wow, yeah, we're actually seeing this. You talk about pain management. Well, especially if you're talking like, I hate to say like an opioid, crisis or something that they say, depending if you're watching the news, let's go back to our ancestral healing methods and tapping back into it. So go ahead.
This is really, you can tell I'm like, I got a question. This is so exciting. Okay. So music, this is really music frequency therapy. I mean, that I did a conference, Spiritual Awakenings International, this recently, and that was one thing that came up: trauma. How do we would deal with trauma? Because a lot of people don't know how to deal with trauma that have had experience, like boom, something up with a heart attack or whatever accident. And so this is really music frequency therapy as well. And one thing that I think you really need in here, something like baby lullabies and that binary thing, that would really help moms, wouldn't it?
Well, and you can put on any of my tracks that's with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be, lullaby. I'm going to say lullabies have been done before, so I'm not going to really go write a lullaby, but that's what we're talking early childhood. You could
do that too.
Yeah. I mean, I played this for all my kids as they're growing up.
So they're perfect kids, right?
Yeah, I'd like to say so, right? I think as any proud parent would say.
That's great. Well, let's go back to the Delta. We started with this about the heartbeat and aligning yourself with how did you say it? You have such great ways of saying these things. You aligned yourself with the central energy.
Just the universe. It's the universal frequency that you're aligning inside of it. Depending if you believe in the Big Bang or however this all happened, it's like something happens on one side of the universe. It affects everything, so to speak. Wow. And so that's kind of where I was going with that album. Garden Sanctuary, that's kind of dealing more with earth frequencies. And so I kind of put some other binaural stuff that's kind of dealing syncopation with some rain that might be in there. You can hear birds chirping, and there's a connection with nature in and of itself. Is if you're out on some people like the sound of the garden on a spring day, going out inside of there, and that's a great way. They can then pick that if they want to for the music before they start going to their hypnosis session.
Now the Delta, there's one more here, but the Delta, tell us how that's different than the binary. Again,
that's a part of it. That's actually a part of it. So like when I write, so we're looking at a reflection. There's another way to just kind of like look at yourself, but let's look at ourselves in a positive way. And what is the past is the past, where are we going? We can look ahead. And so that's where that one is. So if we deal with 372 hertz, and I can't, forgive me, I don't know which key signature that'd be in. There's just like so many of them. I've got mathematical formulas and books that I use with this, right? So
of course,
if you've got the composition that's dealing with that frequency, you want to match that delta frequency to be with that as well. You just can't randomly pull, because that one might be in the key of C, and then the other one might be in the key of B, right? Which they're dissonance. That's a half step away from each other. So that delta is incorporated in that as a binaural beat with that frequency inside of the main composition of 372.
So gee whiz, how do people know? Here's some more Delta. It's not a great image, but dreams. I guess you would use this before you go to sleep?
Who doesn't like to dream? It's like you can be before you sleep, or you can daydream. What do you want to dream about? What do you want to bring into your life? Do you want a new car, a new job, new position, a new love of your life? Do you want to get rid of something? I dream to not have to be in this career anymore.
Right. Okay. So that's what literally dreams. Literally, what do you dream of? Wow. Okay. And this allows you to expand that and possibly manifest it too, is what you're saying. Wow. So how do people, we've got some more. We've got the love song of the soul. What is this one?
528, that's also like DNA repair, right? But it's also the
Mhm.
frequency of love. And the interesting thing is Dr. Emoto, who wrote the crystallography of water, and showing that, like, if you yell at water bad things and negative energy at it, it kind of, if you look at the crystals under the microscope, they kind of turn to mud. Hidden messages of water. Oh my gosh, can you believe that?
Oh, wow.
So simple, right? And so the hidden messages of water, he kind of talks about that. Or if you talk about love, like, oh, you know, I love you. And what a powerful word if you hear that, especially every day. And
Mhm.
so that's just the love song of the soul. All of us, we're all beings capable of love in so many different ways. So,
Absolutely. And also water. That's something that keeps coming up for me. And I mean, if you pray over your water and you
yep.
ask, look, make it holy. You're going to put your divine light into this, blah, blah, blah. And then it heal every particle in DNA. Then I drink it. Okay, it's magic. Magic. And they
Yeah,
say that with food too, that the structure of it changes. So
absolutely.
anyway, so it's intention. We're back to intention. Now you got love and gratitude.
Love and gratitude was early in my career, was actually one of my first greatest hits, so to speak. So I kind of like remixed and remastered some of the songs, and then I wrote a few other ones that were on there, and then that album took a whole life of its own and just kind of went off, and it was just actually everything kind of coming from the heart. Because for me, when I'm in gratitude for what the universe has offered me and what's coming into my life, and love being saved, for example, with my family, or just on a nice day where the sun's hitting you just right, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. That's just being in that state of being and enjoying that time and place that you're at. And that's kind of where I was deriving those tracks.
Wow, that's nice. I usually start off and say meditation. That's kind of, a loaded word. But if I just want to sit, let's say I have a favorite place outside, I just get into a state of gratitude, simple things, trees, cardinals, whatever's out there.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
doesn't have to be long. Sometimes it's not a message I get. Sometimes I just need to relax.
Sometimes it's just a breath of fresh air. So that's what I kind of like say. It's
Mhm.
just like, there's the cleansing breath. Okay, that's just what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what happened to me today. That's all I needed. That's what I needed. Now talk about the awakening. That's new.
So, one of my favorite composers is producers is Nicky Ryan, and Nicky Ryan, for those who don't know him, he's the one that found Enya and produced Enya. And so, as I kind of talked a little bit about synthesizers and eras of music, it was really, I love the era that he came from, thinking the equipment that he had to him and how he utilized Enya's voice to the best of her ability. And for me, it was so healing and spiritual for at that point in time, even though it was probably really 440. I wanted to kind of pay homage to where I came from with relaxation and relaxing music. So that's where
Wow.
that album is kind of coming from. So it's going to have a Celtic Enya-esque feel to it. And my background is really pretty Celtic. I have a lot of that, so maybe more so in my
Right.
albums that need to
So
be
you're
there.
so you're like the original Highlander, Clan MacLeod.
Yeah.
So, so the gamma waves. Tell us about gamma waves?
Okay. So let me go kind of through the order of them real quick, because we Delta was 4 hertz or less, and
Okay,
some of the ones
I'm
I have.
taking notes. I mean, do you know me guessed I don't take notes, but this is so freaking cool.
Oh man, I'm
I
sorry.
am learning so much. It's like I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this 2 or 3 times. Okay.
Oh god, that nut job. There he goes again. He's all long-winded. so after delta waves, there's theta waves, which is between the frequencies of 4 and 7 hertz, and it's the border between the conscious and the subconscious world. And in this state of consciousness, we're accessing and influencing the powerful subconscious part of ourselves that's normally inaccessible to our waking minds. And there are so many benefits when you study it to look at it, that there's optimal range for visualization, mind programming, using creative power where our mind is going to begin inside of this frequency. It's the mental state where we're consciously create our reality. I do a lot of albums in Theta because we're going to be wanting to change our energy field as we are in this state, but to kind of access something here where we're at, whether you're a job trying to look for that next mathematical formula, where I'm in the studio and I'm trying to figure out what's the next script that I want to write for this program that's going to be coming in, and that we're conscious of our surrounding, but our body's going to be able to be deep with relaxation. So we're not stressed out, I have to get there. We're like, well, maybe I'll use this. No, it doesn't work here. I'll go ahead and use that.
Got it.
So,
right. That makes sense. Now, also, when people work like myself, like mediums, and they're communicating, is that Theta?
yeah.
I forgot which one. Okay,
You
so
could be
that's
tapping into
Theta.
alpha
Explain
too.
that.
You could be tapping into alpha too. Because you're still conscious with what you're doing,
Mhm.
I mean, you're conscious, but your subconscious is coming forward through a lot of it, right?
So
And
it would be alpha or theta. I think I never get those straight.
for as a medium, you could be tapping into both. Which I have albums. I have albums that have both alpha and theta inside of those frequencies, so that you're
Okay.
tapping. If one's good, two's better. So, and with alpha, it's the normal activity of the brain. So it goes up one more. So theta's 4 to 7, delta's 4 and lower. Alpha is going to be above theta. It's going to be your 8 to 13. And it's the normal activity of the brain when we're conscious and relaxed. And it's associated with alertness, enhanced learning, creative peak performance, and imagination, visualization, and intuition. So I think we just answered part of our question right there.
Yeah, I think it would be alpha. Now, what about when I go into, it's like a switch. I don't, know the music frequencies or the frequencies necessarily behind it, but when I go into it doesn't take much. I could just a couple breaths and I would go into a trance. It's a deeper state. What would that be?
You're entrained. So you're probably able to go into the alpha. You might even be able to be going into some of the delta too. And I think that we can kind of hit some of these. Like you might be in one, but you could bounce into the other one and then bounce back into it.
Oh my God, I totally resonate with that. I don't even know hardly what you said, but my team and my higher self is going, yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I bounce. When I bounce in this world, like before I gave you a message, this world is, well, we already know the 440 kind of thing, but it would be what? It would be
beta.
Ew. Okay. So I'm beta. And then I go into, it could be theta. And I say, hold on a minute. And then I'll go into alpha.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a car going into gears.
Yeah, well, and you got to realize too that you're probably going into the theta because if you're going to be able to start doing some health, you're going to have to heal yourself too through it. Because I mean, I've seen some mediums that they do something, they come out of it and they're like, oh, I'm totally wiped out. They're wiped out. It's depleted and takes a lot of energy because you're tapping into other spiritual realms to get these messages. Much less sometimes you could be pulled into that direction to get that bit of information that you're trying to pass on to the next individual. And so that takes a toll.
People don't understand that. I usually have a lot of energy. I'm like the ever ready bunny. That's why I do.
You are the anomaly. I'll give you that.
but it depends. Like and it's interesting because I love putting a frequency to it. I've never even thought about that. But like when I do these like Southern Women show, and I'll be on stage and I'll do 2 shows a day for like an hour, big crowds. And then I'll go and do readings and people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, hi, the whole time. But when I'm done by like a day later, what happens?
And see, you're so gifted because you can automatically start tapping into these stages on your own. So you may not even need any of the music or anything like that.
Oh, well, of course I do. I mean, I'm still human and live in this world.
Yeah, but like when you're on stage,
music from me.
you're like, okay, I've got to go here. I've already trained my body. This is where I'm going. This is, I'm going to go through it. Okay, now I'm coming back now. And that's the beauty. But a lot of people, they don't have a clue with it. They read so many books on how do I get to the stage. And I mean, I read some of those books and it's just like, what were they trying to say in that? I didn't get the message at all. And that's where I'm like, let's just do music. You know, and then you deal with the next one, is dealing with gamma waves. Okay, beta. So like as we're talking right now, we're actually in beta, and it's the natural waking state of the body, and that we're active in our rhythm with where we go. Clearly, at the end of the day, we've got to rest. Then you can go up higher, and that's where you can go into 40 hertz, and this is going to be that's going to be your gamma waves. And so I've done a couple gamma waves, and I kind of put them to some yoga music, right? Because the cool thing that I've kind of seen and experimented with gamma is that it's the highest in the frequencies, but it's interesting enough, it's the smallest in amplitude, so to speak. And the Schumann resonance, which measures the Earth's frequency, is moved from alpha, as it has traditionally been for lifetime, so to speak, gamma waves. And so that the interesting thing about the gamma waves and why I started recording with that and with some of my compositions, I think emergence and ethereal were the two, and using them with the yoga community is that with these waves, compassion comes through the feeling of oneness with all of creation. And it's the feeling of blessings and ecstasy that accompanies the high levels of the gamma brainwave activity feelings of satisfaction. It's strongly been improves with the cognitive functioning of think memory retention and data processing and basic focus. So it's linking information that we're getting that's coming in. You think when we're going to yoga practices, we're releasing some stuff as well as getting into the savasana and the relaxation, but working on the breath work. But now it's also, that's why I started incorporating these with the yoga community. Had asked me to incorporate something with it, and this is what I thought would work really well with them. And that it's the activity that shows the highest IQ scores and are often high academic achievers, athletes, and talented musicians. So of course I like playing with gamma waves, and it corresponds with the state of peak performances. And it's interesting because there's for a scholastic individual who was studying, and she's now going through, from listening to it, she's now achieving college courses in high school, and is like all these advanced courses, and I don't remember, honors and stuff, and looking for going on to pursuing in the technical world, especially for women in women's studies with that, since it's a small field. But she's been listening to a lot of it, and it's been helping her out in that sense.
Does that help people increase their IQ?
Yeah, it's because if you're playing it in the background and then training our brain with it and doing with maybe studies and something like that, it's helping you be able to absorb it and the cognitive ability that it's opening up those neural pathways inside of our brain.
It's like taking a smart pill. I like it. That's good. That makes sense. And instead of some kind of low tone, whatever in the background, you're putting this on as you're studying or learning a topic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, okay, and that's the whole gamut of the gamma.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. So if people are like, wow, there's so much, I want to let them know how that they can obviously get in touch with you, but I also and you've got so many more studies on your website, and they can view these studies. And if you're the geeky people, it's all on there. Or if you just want to say, look, I'm sold, I just want to try this. What can you recommend? Is it something that people just do intuitively, or especially nowadays, most people are carrying a certain amount of stress because so many of the family members are working from home, or college kids are home, or what have you? What is something, just a good everyday relaxation one?
What are some of the ones to listen for everyday relax?
Yeah. Just to
calm
down.
A lot of people have been making playlists. I think I looked on Spotify. I'm like over 900 been involved on 900 playlists that people are creating these playlists because it's able to relax them. They know that that's where they're stepping into to kind of get away from it.
Okay.
Pretty much all my albums you can listen to by design. I mean, clearly not like the vocal toning unless you want to start learning how to sing. Which is funny because one of my best-selling songs is, I think, 444 off of the vocal toning. I digress here. But
Really?
you can listen to kind of, yeah, that was kind of like a shocker to me, and kind of like, well, that's like supposed to be a vocal toning exercise, but I guess people either there's a lot of vocal toners listening to it, or they're listening to it on their own to help change the frequency. I do think it's best to be able to listen to with headphones on, because it's going to put you in that kind of capsulated area to listen to it. And I don't really listen to it at high frequencies. It's not high volumes. That's not where it's really designed. But it's kind of like at a nice place in the background, is almost if you could hear still like someone else speaking to you, so to speak. But the benefit of being with the headphones is that you're going to get more of that binaural effects that's designed through the left and right hemispheres with the headphones than those who are going to probably listen to it from their computer speaker. I did design it to come through a computer, like, you know, a lot of people there with their laptops and the environment that they're at, and okay, if I can just hit play on this file and let it roll. And so I did kind of, when I mix and master it, they can listen to it from their laptops, but you're going to get the best benefit by putting headphones on.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So my crappy little ones, forget it. I'm going to wear the nicer ones, so you can really, because you want to hear the tonality. Oh gosh, but you could really listen to a lot of these in the background when you're sleeping too, right?
And a lot of people are doing that because they're having a hard time sleeping, and if they just put it on in the background at a decent volume, you know, so it's not like agitating. And a lot of people are just like going out after one guy, an elderly individual, has had trouble sleeping, and it came to the point where he had cancer problems, and he beat his cancer, and he loves my music with it, and went through a lot of therapy with it. And again, with the sleeping, he couldn't sleep with it either, so he was putting that on, and he goes to sleep every night. And if he wakes up and can't sleep, he says he just starts it back over from the beginning.
Wow. So really, when we line up with our own perfect frequencies that are not askew, then it's going to help us to beat diseases and all of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about the naysayer?
I mean, I want to say, I mean, I can't prescribe it, but I'm going to say you put your intention behind it and all. It's you can do anything that you want.
You can't
really, and that's the power of us.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's responsibility, a spiritual responsibility. So you can't prescribe, but you can subscribe on Spotify.
I like that.
You can do that. Well, and here's the thing. It's back to spiritual responsibility. Yeah, you put a little disclaimer. I think it'd be really cool to have, here, because, you know, you're doing so much of this. If you're looking for this, look at these, kind of like a chart, because there's so much here to help people. What about the naysayer that says, oh, well, I listen to Zen music or meditation. It does relax you, but it doesn't have these binary or delta waves in that, correct?
Yeah. The naysayers, and I'm sorry, kind of breaking up, but I think you're saying that.
Okay. So the naysayers that say, hey, I'll just use Zen music and or meditation music. This is different. Explain how that's, even though it's relaxing, explain it's not just about the relaxation, it's the waves and the frequencies in it. Correct? Can you hear me? Let's do that again. So it's not just like if someone said, hey, let's use meditation music or Zen, but not only is this relaxing, this has the waves in it of the delta, the binary, correct? So it's different.
Yeah, it's totally different. And I haven't really had many naysayers kind of come forward that have been saying thank God, but
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just saying it's different than just meditation music. That's all I'm saying. This is actually beneficial. The other's relaxing, but this is actually beneficial. So this is amazing. And then tell people again, I mean, how to get in touch with you, the best way if they want to download your music, how to do that, and then about this amazing free offer to the audience.
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with me is go to my website, which is at tedwinslow.com. You can find me on Facebook under Solfeggio Sound Healing. I've got a page that's up there that talks about stuff that I'm doing. Kind of playing around with Instagram. I don't do too much social media, so to speak, but I mean, you can connect with me there. The best place is going to be the website at tedwinslow.com. And to get the angelic sound healing, you'll want to go into the store there. And once you get into the store, you'll find angelic sound healing with binaural beats, and you'll check out, and there's going to be a coupon code, and you'll just type in radio, RADIO, and it'll zero out your balance, and then you can proceed on from there. Again, don't put any credit card information that's in it, and it's going to be a series of digital downloads from those that you can download them. And if you don't get all of them, my website gets hammered sometimes pretty big. Being international, and if that's the case, you can log back on, do it again, and get whatever file you might have been missing or whatnot.
Wow, that is so kind of you to do that for our listeners. I mean, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much. Now, look, if I want to start a playlist, is it best to do Spotify? Do you recommend any particular apps that to look for your music the best?
I'm on Amazon, I'm on iTunes, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Pandora. I tend to use Spotify, I think, because it's a bigger platform, and I like how easy it is to use that platform. And I do the subscription because then you don't get the commercials and stuff, and that it's so easy to create a playlist, because I don't think you really can do you can do the playlists off of your iTunes if you purchase them, but if you want, as far as you want to do streaming, I'm talking about on iTunes on that. But if you just do streaming, I like Spotify because you can create the playlist on that. And I've created some already that's like Delta Healing, Theta Healing, all sorts of different ones, so people can just go to my profile and find them there.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you've already done it. So they can just, that's the best. So that does sound like the best way, Spotify. They can just go to that area they want. Well, I tell you what, you're doing so much. There's going to be so much more. And then even what your wife is doing, I'd love to have her on the show as well, because she sounds like she's doing some amazing things as well, individually and together. You're doing some really cool stuff. So thank you for helping me raise the vibration of the planet. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I got to say thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you for getting the word out and all the healing and the help that you do, and connecting us all together on the show. And I mean, what a godsend. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. I feel the same way. So God bless and namaste. And I just can't wait to see all the things you're going to do. Thank you so much for your time. Much love.
Thank you.